Cornell's journey to becoming an artist isn't a typical one. He didn't have any formal training in art. He couldn't draw, he couldn't sculpt, he couldn't paint. And even the exact point at which he becomes an artist is quite an interesting question. He didn't even like the term artist. He preferred to call himself a maker or a designer. And I think that's very telling. He wanted his works to speak to everyone, whether they thought of themselves as being interested in art or not. And he wanted his creations to relate to daily life. And I think that's why he naturally ended up working with everyday things and objects and working on a very domestic scale, which he did. In one of his diaries, there's this incredible sort of very succinct note where he draws this equation and it just says collage equals life, which I think is a beautiful sort of summary of his approach. And so it's really his love of objects and things that I think draws Cornell to becoming an artist. It was during the 1920s, when he was working as a textile salesman in Manhattan, that he began to collect things. So he didn't like his job much, but he really loved the city. He loved the energy of the city. He liked riding the trains, particularly the elevated railways, where you've got sort of unusual perspectives. And it's a time when New York's changing really rapidly. There are skyscrapers, but there's also horse-drawn carriages. There's a sort of very rich tapestry of life that he was very excited by. And he even once said that his artwork was a natural outcome of his love for the city. And it opened up a whole world of culture to him, from museums and concerts and ballets and operas, just to watching people walk down the street. So during his lunch breaks, he would wander the streets and visit second-hand bookshops. He began to collect all kinds of ephemera that related to his interest, opera librettos or 19th century travel guides, things that he found interesting. And he loved the serendipity of these discoveries, these junk shops where he didn't quite know what he would discover. He later looked back on this time as, what I think he writes in his diary, as the exploring that became creative. So this is what I mean about at what point does he really become an artist, because the collecting comes first, and out of that grows his art. In 1931, Cornell lost his job because of the Great Depression, and the only upside to this for him really was that he had plenty of time to wander around the city, which he loved to do. And one day he walks into the Julian Levy Gallery, and this is sort of amazing timing on Cornell's part, because Levy was about to make his mark as the first promoter of surrealism in America. I personally believe that one of the reasons Cornell went to that gallery and sought it out was because Levy was initially planning to specialise in photography, and so there's a very direct connection. Cornell was probably looking to go and buy some photographs for his collection. And as the story goes, Cornell then sees Julian Levy unpacking some collages by the German artist Max Ernst, and he then goes home, makes some collages, brings them back to Levy. Levy opens his gallery in November 1931, and on the 9th of January 1932, Cornell is included in what is one of the first exhibitions of surrealism in America, alongside internationally renowned artists. So he even, in fact, did the collage that was the announcement card for that exhibition.